Yeah. Good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. So before starting performance testing, actual sessions, so shall we have some aptitude test, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask question for today. Suppose, or in a party, there are 540 guests. There are 540 guests in a party. Okay. Okay. Out of which men and women are in the ratio of 4:5. Okay. How many men are there and how many women are there? Got the question, guys?
Sir, men are 240 and the women are 300.
Now ping it in the Zoom chat, okay? Let others
Sure.
also answer. Please
Sure.
ping it in the Zoom chat and select my name, select host there. Don't ping it to everyone, please. Let others also try. Is the question clear, guys?
$240, women are 300.
Please ping it in the Zoom chat. Okay, please don't reveal the answers. I want everyone to work on that. Yes, I got answers, only 2 answers. Please ping it in the Zoom chat. Only 4 till now. Please make it fast, guys. Please don't send it to everyone, please. Let others also answer. Okay. Firoz, how you got minus 240? Can you explain? Firoz?
Sir, 540 divided by ratio 4:5, no, sir. 4 plus 5, 9. 9, 6 is 54, sir. We got 60, sir. For men, 4:5 means men for 4, women for 5, sir. 4 into 60, 240, 5 into 60, 300, sir.
Okay, good. Someone posted, no, men as woman 240, men 300. Sandhya?
I'm the one, sir. I'm confused, sir. That's why I'm saying that. Man
Okay,
is
okay.
240, woman is 300, sir.
Right. I need not explain that, right? Everyone know how to calculate, yes or no? Or do
Yes,
you want me to explain?
Oh, sir.
But I got only like answers from like 1, 2, 3, Ashok 3, Ravindra 4, Iswar 5, Sandhya 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Only 10 people. Okay, let me explain this, right? I'll give some simple way to calculate. So observe here, like there are 540 guests in a party, right? And they are in the ratio of 4:5. Okay. I will, I will give some formula to calculate. So let's say there are see, when there are four, the men and women are in the ratio of 4:5. Let's assume that, 4x plus 5x. Can I take like this? Is equal to 540. 4x plus 5x is equal to 540. Can I take like this?
Yes, sir.
We don't know what is this x value.
Sir, your screen was not presented.
It's not
Right?
appearing,
So
sir.
9x is equal to 540.
Sir,
So
screen is
obviously
not
x becomes 60.
Sir,
Isn't it?
screen was not presented, sir. Your screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right. So one simple way to calculate is like you got the ratio, right? So just do like this, right? So to get the accurate results, let's assume that number of men or women to be x. So 4:5 means 4x plus 5x is equal to 540, right? So 4x plus 5x means 9x. Total 9x is equal to 540, and x becomes 60, isn't it? Clear, guys? Now men is 4. Out of this, men is 4. So 4 into 60. That is 240 men, isn't it? And 5 into 60 becomes so many. 300 is right. Guys, those who could not answer, I got only 10 answers. Only 50% of the people answered. But the rest of 50%, did you understand how to calculate?
Yes, sir.
Shall we move ahead, guys? Or is it clear, or you want me to explain again?
Sir, it's very clear, sir. You move ahead.
It's clear, sir.
All right. So we'll discuss, some more questions tomorrow, some more aptitude questions tomorrow. Okay. So let's get started with the session. Let me open your tracker meanwhile. By the way, do you want me to do this exercise or no? Do you want me to discuss these aptitude questions or no?
Yes, sir. Discuss.
sir.
Okay. Right. So yesterday in the previous session, I covered what is software development life cycle, testing life cycle, and introduction to performance testing. Right. And today, the next topic, I'll take from 7 to 8. I'll try to close by 8 o'clock. All right. So let me go to the next concept. Yeah. So we covered till here, right? Now let's discuss what is performance testing in detail. Okay. So what is performance testing all about? We already discussed yesterday. Yes. What is performance testing? I know. Let me ask. Srikanth. What is performance testing, Srikanth? Srikanth, are you with us? You are on mute if you are speaking. Smita? Ishwar?
Sir, performance testing is testing the reliability and reliability of the system under a target load, and it is a non-functional testing, sir. So we need not test the functionality of the application. We will test the
Voice is very low, Ishwar.
Sir, now?
It's better now. It's good now.
Okay. Sir, performance testing is a non-functional testing. That is, the testing is performed to understand the responsiveness and reliability of the system, and it's we will test it on a target load, sir. So how quick is the application is, all these things.
Okay, good issue. Yeah. So performance testing is non-functional testing. The first word or the first explanation that you have to give is performance testing is non-functional testing. And what is the purpose of doing that? It's done to determine the applications. Yes, speed, stability, scalability, and reliability. Right? Speed, stability, scalability, and reliability. Now let's understand, each of these. Right? Before moving to that, let me ask few more questions. So what is white box testing, Vijay? Let me ask few more questions on yesterday's concepts. What is white box testing, Vijay? Vijay, you are on mute if you are speaking. Yeah, I see someone is joined with display name as Galaxy. May I know who is that? Galaxy M30s.
Sir, it's me, sir. Hello.
Yes, please.
Sir, it's me, sir. Satvika Priya.
Okay. Yeah. Whom I asked that question? Vijay. Vijay, are you with us?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Huh. What is white box testing?
White box testing. Forgot, sir.
Doesn't work with me, Vijay. Okay, so you have to go through the recorded session. So are you getting the recorded session?
Yeah.
So I will strictly follow this, Vijay. Okay. Every day we will have, for the first 10 minutes, we'll have assessment on the previous day concepts, 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
And also every week you will have online assessment.
Okay.
This is mandatory. All right. So, and if someone keeps silent and don't speak in the meeting, I have no other option. I have to remove them from the meeting. Okay.
Okay.
Sindhu, what is white box testing, Sindhu?
White box unit testing is called the white box testing.
Right. And who does that white box testing?
Developers itself do the white box testing, unit testing.
Okay. Can you elaborate what is unit testing?
After developing the code, I mean a piece of code, developers do the developers test the code once to understand any defects in the code.
Okay. Good, Sindhu. Yeah. Can you give thumbs up to Sindhu, everyone, please? In Zoom meeting, like we have reactions, right? Something called reactions. Can you please give a thumbs up to her? Thank you. Thank you. Also to Iswar and those who answered previously. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Aruna, are you with us? Bhargav?
Yeah, hi.
What is integration testing?
After developing the modules, like piece of code, they will integrate the tools into.
Right. So the testing done
modules
after
and
integrating different software modules is called as
piece of different modules. Yeah, integration.
It is called as integration testing. Okay, good. So now let's discuss about performance testing in detail. Okay. Any queries before we start the session? Today's concepts. Any queries before we start today's concepts?
No, sir.
Okay. So performance testing is non-functional testing to determine an application's speed, stability, scalability, and reliability. Now let's discuss this. What is meant by speed, stability, scalability, and reliability? So the first one is like speed. Speed means nothing but response time of the application. We discussed that already. What is meant by response time, isn't it? What is response time, by the way? Santosh?
Response time, exactly. Once we develop any other product, okay. This time of limit, how much time of a transaction is going on and all this call, we call it as response time.
Can you please repeat?
For example, if we are opening an Amazon page or any application, in the span of 3 seconds or 4 seconds, how much time it is opening, how much time it is responding is known as response time.
Right. So response time is the time taken from the moment you send the request to till the moment you receive the response, right? From the moment you send the request from the browser and till you receive the response from the server, right? So that is response time, right? So speed is to check if the application responds quick enough for intended users, and response time should be less, right? And stability, what is meant by stability? To check how stable the application is under expected and unexpected user loads, right? So stability means check how stable is the application under expected, means normal user load, and unexpected, if there is any more than expected user load on the server, how does the application behave, right? That is stability. Clear, guys? And next one is application performance should not degrade even after using very long time. The next one is scalability. What is scalability? Can the application handle unexpected user load, and how does it behave beyond its capacity? What is meant by capacity? For example, an application supports 5,000 users, right? Now, if there is some sudden surge in the user load, if there are more number of more than normal user load, how does the application behave, right? If if you assume that the normal user load on an application is 5,000, or capacity of the application is 5,000, right? How does it behave if few more users access the application? Let's say 5,500 or 6,000, like, right? When we have some unexpected user load, how can the application handle or not, right? That is called scalability testing. That is called as scalability testing, right? So this is one factor for doing performance testing, or this is one of the goals of performance testing. This shows application's ability to handle increasing user load without performance degradation. And this shows application's ability to handle the increase in the user load without performance degradation. Performance degradation means without impacting the response times or without throwing errors, right? How able the application is to handle that increased user load, right? So that is scalability. And what is reliability, guys? How reliable is the application, and will users have positive experience on go live? Means once the application go live, or once the application is into production, how reliable is the application, and will users have positive experience, right? That is reliability. So these are the four major factors for doing performance testing, right? Next. So these are the, so I have listed out some performance metrics. We'll discuss this later. What is client side metric and what is server side metric? So we'll discuss this later. Let me move to the next one, next slide. Now, there are few more factors for doing performance testing. Not only this, but there are few more factors for doing performance testing. Let's discuss what are those, right? And I classified, the goals of performance testing, or the factors for doing performance testing into I categorized for new already existing applications and newly built applications. So first, let's understand, for an already existing application, when do we need to do performance testing, right? Let's assume an application is already in production, right? In what cases we need to do performance testing for an already existing application, right? First and foremost one is when adding a new feature or new functionality. Whenever some new feature or some new functionality is added to the application, so we have to do this performance testing, right? So let me give some example for this one, right? So suppose, most of you are using IRCTC or Redbus, right?
Sir.
Most of you might have used this either IRCTC or Redbus, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you list out some new features that are introduced in the last 2 years, 1 or 2 years? In the last 2 years, one
Live
new
track.
feature. Okay. Tracking the train. Is that
Search
introduced
by-
2 years?
Search by service number.
Search by
Service number.
service number. Okay. Is that in IRCTC or which one?
IRCTC.
Okay.
Google live track.
Right. Okay. So every year, or every now and then, some new feature will be added to an existing application. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right. And one more example that I am very much familiar is, previously with IRCTC, when we book a ticket, right? Before 2 years, we don't know what is the confirmation probability. We don't know what are the chance. Suppose if you book a ticket in waitlisting quota, right? So we don't know like what is the confirmation probability. Yes or no? How much chance is there to get the ticket confirmation? So we don't know that previously. However, like IRCTC introduced a new feature called CNF probability. Everyone know that feature, guys?
Yes, sir. We do.
Yes, sir.
Right? So and in the same way for red bus application, one new feature was introduced in red bus application like last year or before last year. Previously, suppose if you want to postpone your suppose you booked a ticket and in red bus and you want to postpone the travel. So what you had to do previously, we need to cancel the existing ticket and we have to book a new ticket. Yes or no? Right? So
Yes,
in
sir.
2021, I think like they introduced one feature called reschedule ticket. How many of you are aware of that feature?
Yes, sir.
Right? So any application undergoes some changes and some new features will be added, some new functionality will be added, right? Now, whenever such new feature is added, right, again, even though it is an existing application, again, they will do that performance testing. Again, they will do, all these types of testing, unit testing, functional testing, integration testing, all these testings will be done whenever some new feature or new functionality is added, right? And performance testing, all these testings, all the different, the application will be subjected to different types of testing in the testing life cycle, right? So that is one factor for doing performance testing. What is that? Whenever some new feature or functionality is added, right? So we have to do performance testing for an already, even though it is an already existing application. That is one factor for doing performance testing. Next, increasing number of users are adding new users, right? Let's understand, let's take some example for this. So increasing, can you give some example, guys? Increasing number of users are adding new users. Can you give some example for this? Anyone?
Amazon or Flipkart.
Right. Amazon or Flipkart, like everyday number of users will be increasing.
After Corona, so much increases. So
yes, good example. Yes. After COVID, many people like who previously did not prefer online shopping, they had to use the online shopping, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Accessing of a payroll during the month end or first day of the month, actually.
No, that is not new users, right? Existing users only.
But the load on that servers will be increased. There will be a sudden surge on that particular time period whenever there is a salary credit from the companies to their employees on that particular.
Right. Yeah. So whenever some new employees join the company, yes, that falls under this one, adding new users, right? Whenever some, huge number of employees, join the company, existing one, right? Now, so also let me give some examples. Okay, let me give some well-known examples to everyone, right? To compare our with real-time situations, right? So everyone knows that like in 2000, so State Bank of India, so five different state banks, subsidiaries, state bank subsidiaries got merged into State Bank of India. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? Or else let me give one more example. So one more example that I can give here is, you might be knowing that Kotak Mahindra Bank has acquired, acquired some other bank. What is that?
ING Vaishya.
ING Vaishya Bank, correct, right? So before this merger, both have different websites, right? ING Kotak Mahindra Bank website is on Kotak.com. ING Vaishya Bank has used to have their own website, obviously. Yes or no? Some ING Vaishya Bank.com. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? Now let's assume that Kotak Mahindra Bank has some 5 lakh users. Previously 5 lakh net banking users. ING Vaishya Bank, let's assume that there are some 1 lakh users. 1 lakh users who are using ING Vaishya Bank. Right? Now, post this merger, all these 1 lakh users also will start using this Kotak.com, right? After merger.
Yes, sir.
Right? now we know there is increase in the number of users, right? Increasing number of users or adding new users. Yes or no? So from 5 lakhs, the number of users who use Kotak Mahindra Bank, Kotak.com website, it went up by 1 lakh, right? Increased by how much percentage is this? 5 lakhs into 6 lakhs higher. What is the percentage increase?
20%.
20%, right? There is 20% increase in the number of users, right? This is one example. Again, I heard in today's news that Kotak Mahindra Bank is going to acquire Yes Bank also. Okay, not sure if those are rumors or it's reality, but I heard, I came to know today that Kotak Mahindra Bank is going to acquire this S Bank also, right? Now again, and let's assume that S Bank has some 2 lakh users. Okay, now all these 2 lakh users will start using this Kotak.com after the merger. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right? So in such cases, even though the application, see, Kotak Mahindra Bank, Kotak.com website is existing from many years, but still, like Kotak Mahindra Bank should validate whether their existing application will support these additional new users or not, right? Then they will go for performance testing again. Clear case?
Yes, sir.
Right? Here, no need of doing functional testing again, right? But they have to do performance testing here, like, because there is an increase in the number of user load, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Right? The next scenario is whenever there is some major software upgrade like database, or OS migration on the servers. Let's discuss this first. Suppose your application is using Oracle 11 or Oracle 12 or 13, right? Let's assume that any web application is using some Oracle 13, 13C, I think 13 version, is has a suffix of C, I believe. So let's assume that your application is using Oracle 13, and now let's assume that Oracle has released a new version. Now this application client want to upgrade to the database, new database, right? Then again, they will not upgrade directly. What they will do is, in the test environment, yesterday we discussed performance testing will be done in the test environment, right? First, they will upgrade in the test environment to, let's say, 14, Oracle 14 version. They will test it in the test environment or engineering environment, right? Performance testing environment, the environment in which performance testing is done is called as test environment, or some companies call it as, I mentioned yesterday, performance testing is done in an environment called test environment or engineering environment, right? So first they will test that, they will upgrade the database in engineering environment or test environment. They do some performance testing, and then once they confirm that they're getting good performance, right? But there are no new issues or something, then only they will upgrade in the production, right? So this is one more case where we do performance testing for an already existing application. Clear, guys? Like database upgrade, or whenever there is OS migration. What is OS? OS migration means
Operating system.
Operating system migration of the servers. Okay, let's say see, Windows has released Windows 11 recently, right? Now let's say, for example, so a client want to upgrade the operating system, right, on the servers, right? We'll discuss what is meant by server and all this. We'll discuss that in detail. Okay, so whenever there is some software upgrade or whenever there is some hardware upgrade on the servers as well, right, then also we have to do performance testing. So we do in test environment, and then once we make sure that the performance did not deteriorate, or if there is an improvement in performance, then only that change will be done in the production environment, right? So these are the different cases in which we do performance testing for an already existing application. Clear, guys?
Clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now let's discuss, like, what is the necessity of doing performance testing for a newly built application, right? Let's assume that one application is newly built, right? Now then, what is the necessity of doing performance testing? Is assess the readiness in readiness of production environment and determine the capacity of existing systems. let's say one new web application is developed or one new mobile application is developed, right? Now, very newly, it is a brand new application. Now, in that case, why do we need to do performance testing? Is to assess the readiness of production environment. Means how good is it the application is to go into production, and what is the capacity of that application, or what is the capacity of that application with the existing systems, means with the existing servers, right? Means what is the capacity, means how many users can it support once it goes to production, how many users can it support, right? To find out that, we do performance testing for a newly built application. Clear case? And creating benchmarks for feature systems. Creating benchmarks for feature systems. I'll explain that later. So I have to explain what is benchmarking and what is baselining for that. So for now, remember that, this is one of the reasons for doing performance testing for a newly built application, right? To explain what is meant by a benchmark, so let's take some example, right? So our Telugu director Rajmouli, right? He has set a benchmark. What is that, case in movie industry?
Yes.
He has set a new benchmark in movie industry. What is that? With the Bahubali movie.
Collecting of 500 crores or 300 crores in first week itself.
500 crores? Is it 500 crores in first week?
To set the boundary.
No, he created a benchmark, right? And for example, like the numbers I know is in 3 days, it collected 100 crores in 3 days. First 3 days, right? He has set a benchmark. Now, after that, like, everyone started comparing with that 100 crores. The people used to say like 100 crores club. Yes or no?
Oh, got it.
Right? He has set a record, new record, right? So in the same way, creating benchmarks for future systems is, suppose, it is a new application, brand new application. Now, first we will determine what is the capacity of the existing system, right? How many users can it support now? Let's say 1,000 users. Now, for a newly built application, developers will start adding features, right? Now, what we will do is, we'll compare that with that benchmark, like whenever some new feature is added or something, right? So we'll compare with that benchmark, right? So that is what it means, like creating benchmarks for future systems, and compare multiple platforms. If you want to compare multiple platforms, means, for example, like, there is an application which, developers have to decide, like on which platform it will give better performance, whether it will give better performance on Windows OS or Linux operating system. Again, in Linux, there are different flavors of Linux. If they want to compare multiple platforms, see, platforms means here the operating system platforms, or it can be hardware platforms, right? See, when I say hardware platform, we have Intel processors and AMD processors. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right. So once an
Ryzen processor also.
What is that?
Sir, Ryzen processor, sir.
AMD Ryzen processor. Yeah. So if you want if someone want to compare this application, if someone want to check on which platform it gives better performance, right? We do performance testing on both the environments, with Intel processor and let's say AMD Ryzen, or else which operating system gives better performance. Whether, mostly these servers or these applications will be running on Linux operating system, right? Again, in Linux, we have different flavors of Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, CentOS. There are a lot of variants, a lot of flavors of Linux. So to compare multiple platforms also, we do performance testing for a newly built application, right? And compare the performance characteristics with different system configurations. Compare the performance characteristics with different system configurations, means different settings, right? We'll discuss this in detail, like once the scripting is completed, right? We'll discuss this in detail. Okay. Then you'll be, once we start test executions and analysis, right? So you'll better able to understand at that time, right? We will revisit this, again before closing the course, before that, course closure, right? And next one is validate any application against its performance criteria. So any application will have certain performance criteria. Let's say, for example, let me give some examples for this performance criteria. What is meant by performance criteria? So when developers are developing the application, right, they will have some things in mind. This application should support some 10,000 users, let's say 10,000 users. So that can be one of the performance criteria of the application. Okay, some example. Okay, and this is just an example, guys. These are not ardent form. These are not a fixed numbers. Okay, 10,000 users. That can be one performance criteria, or some 2,000 transactions per hour. When developers are developing the application, right? So they will get some performance criteria. Okay, so to compare the application against the performance criteria, we also do performance to compare, means to check whether application is able to meet this performance or not. Understood or no? Meet this performance criteria or not, right? So for that, we also do performance testing. Next, uncover what components of an application suffer poor performance and under what conditions, right? So to explain this, what components of an application, to explain that, let me show you a typical web application architecture. So this is how a web application architecture looks like, right? And observe here, different users will be accessing the application using different browsers, and any typical application consists of web server, application server, database server. I will explain what is web server, application server, and database server in the coming up sessions. For now, remember that these are the components of the application, different components. What is meant by component, guys? What is meant by a component? What is the general meaning of component?
One of the part of that any system or something, for example.
Right, component is part of something, right? A small part is called as a component. Now, web server, application server, database server, these are all components of the web application. Can I say that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. Now, to uncover what components of the application, uncover what components of an application suffer poor performance and under what conditions. To find out that if there are any performance issues, right? What is the reason for that issue? Which component is causing poor performance? To find out that also, we do performance testing for a newly built application. And find any performance bottlenecks or performance issues. To find out any performance bottlenecks or performance issues. All right. So we also do performance testing and support system tuning, support the application tuning. We'll discuss this, what is meant by application tuning, in the coming up sessions. So there are certain reasons why we do performance testing for a already existing application and for a newly built application. Right? Are we clear on this case? Yes, Hari.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, let Hari complete.
Yeah. Could you please go to that three-tier architecture, whatever you just shown to us?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah. My question might be related to the next coming sessions, but just I would like to discuss with you if you have any time to share that one. See, now usually part of any functional testing of any module, like an application server or a database server, whatever the applications we write specifically for the database applications or something, that we test individually. Once these modules are tested properly, then we go for the integration. So is there any way that we need, is there any possibility of conducting the database specific performance testing, whether the database is able to tolerate that 100 thousands of connections at a given point of time or something?
Yeah, when we are simulating a number of users, there will be some...
Instead of from the end-to-end one, we directly, if I need to test that particular module, database module itself with that number of connections, either from the load runner or from the JMeter, is it a relevant kind of a testing in the performance life cycle or something, or am I got confused somewhere actually?
No, database testing also can be performed individually. Database testing also can be performed.
Okay, so in real time, first we do test that individually database related codes performance, and then that app server related logic, whatever the developers have written, that we test individually their performance. And once everything is being benchmark reached, then we go for that end-to-end scenarios performance one.
Yes, so it depends. It may depend on the requirement. So when you have huge volume of data, right? So we may need to do more database testing, or we call that as volume testing when there is huge volume of data. So depending on the requirement, we do that. But normally what we do is we do load testing and endurance testing for all types of applications. We do load and endurance testing, right? But if there is any requirement to test the, see, for example, banking applications or e-commerce applications will have a lot of data. Banking applications, whenever you do some transactions, some records will be added to the database, right? Whenever you do some fund transfer or bill payment or any of those. So some new records will be added to the database, isn't it? And the database volume increases gradually. It increases, and let's say there will be some 1 lakh records in the database. Let's say we need to maintain some 1 lakh records in the database, right? To find out whether, obviously when there is more data, more number of records in the database, performance will suffer, obviously, compared to when there are less number of records. When there are more number of records, the performance may suffer, right? So for that, we do something called volume testing. Okay. We do something called volume testing. As part of performance testing, we do something called volume testing.
Okay.
We populate the database with certain number of records, and we do that volume testing.
Okay. Pawan, I have one more follow-up question. So, Pawan, usually whenever a QA engineer performs any kind of testing, actually, there will be a test plan where it is been mentioned like what kind of a test bed and what will be the configurations of the test bed. But with respect to this performance testing, is there any detailed plan that is being shared with the performance engineer who has to go through that all the configurations of that application servers and web servers with what configurations of the CPU and memory caches and DB threads and all other things specified clearly? And as a performance engineer, I have to configure that servers with all those details. Then everything is perfect. Then I have to start. Is that the way, or are there any third party other than performance engineering? Is there a DevOps team or IT team? Once we share the details, they will prepare the test bed and we will execute these performance related test cases.
Yeah, so all those details will be mentioned in the test plan document. So what is the architecture of the application? What is the test bed and all? So you'll have all those details defined in the test plan document. Okay, and it's the client's responsibility to provide that test environment.
Okay, understood.
We can suggest that. See, basically, like performance test environment should be an identical environment to production. So whatever how many servers you have in production environment, you should be having same number of servers, same system configuration in the test environment as well. So then only you will get those accurate results. So it's the client, it's the responsibility of the client to provide an exact replica of production.
Okay, we are not responsible for the test bed preparation and other things usually in real time.
No, usually we don't prepare that environment. So client will, it's a headache, or is the responsibility of the client to provide a test environment.
Okay, so usually will there be any kind of some kind of a knowledge transfer from the architect or someone to that to the performance test engineers to explain that how that application?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So those will be reviewed again by the architect, and then QA architect and dev architect or someone again in this performance.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I had actually. Thank you, Pawan.
Okay. Any other questions someone asked about to ask some other question? No other questions, guys?
Yeah, hi, sir.
Bhargav, your voice is breaking.
Can I ping you in chat?
No, it's clear now. Yeah, you can speak out.
testing is related to volume testing only, or it is different?
Volume testing, we can say that is a subset of performance testing or part of performance testing. So in performance testing, there are different types of performance testing. So we'll discuss that in the next, in the next session. These are the different types of performance testing: load testing, soak testing, stress testing, spike testing. Here you go. Here is volume testing, right? And scalability testing, failure testing, capacity testing. If you observe here, like I have highlighted this load testing and
So
soak
total, how
testing.
many types of performance testing, sir?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, recently we have seen that Facebook, WhatsApp servers are get down. At the time, which type of testing we have used for to recover the problem?
Okay, so whenever an application crashes or something, right? So if there are some application crashes, first they will analyze like what is the root cause of that issue. Okay, is it because of more load on the servers, or is it because of any failed configurations, right? So first they will check that, and according to that, or else is it because of some new feature getting introduced, right? See, sometimes like some new feature, some bad code is introduced into the application. That also may cause the application crash. So they will first try to identify they will first do the root cause analysis, RCA, and then they will try to fix that issue. There is no specific testing that like that will be done whenever. We cannot say that a particular test is required, type of testing is required whenever an application crashes.
Okay, sir. Sir, can you tell me at the time of what happened? Sir, recently Facebook, WhatsApp servers got down. At the time, what happened? Can you tell me, sir?
Can I share my understanding or whatever I went? Yeah. What I read, it was due to that there was some kind of a hackers group who attacked with that distributed denial of services actually. So that made that the particular Facebook or that applications to go down sometime. But Facebook claimed saying that they have introduced some new feature and there was some misconfigurations in the production deployment and caused that one. But the fact check and other things, it was saying like that was due to that some hackers group did DDoS attack on them.
Okay.
But the second scenario of recently that income tax updated version 2.0, I read a couple of articles about that one, but it was due to that failure in the architecture by the Infosys group itself. Actually, that's what I read.
Okay. Also, some applications like there is some issue with Log4j recently. So we heard some like
vulnerability.
Right, there are
vulnerability.
vulnerabilities identified with Log4j, and like we got some continuous updates on that Log4j.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Someone is saying something?
Yeah. Carry on, sir. Carry on.
Okay. So I'll stop it here for today. So we'll continue tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll discuss like what are the different types of performance testing, and we'll have one short assessment soon after that. Once I explain these different types of performance testing, I'll show you some graphs, and you can try to identify like what type of testing it represents, each graph represents, right? So here you can see I have some graphs, right? So like we will have some short assessment like to understand like what each graph represents. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So any other queries before we close the session for today?
Pawan, one small question.
Yes, please.
Actually. Yeah, Pawan. So I think so far this is the third class for us actually. The basics are been covering. Pawan, is there any document or a link actually where we can go through and prepare as per the real-time interview questions or something, or which we can apply the knowledge whatever we acquired in the training itself to our real-time applications or something. So that we can prepare parallel for the interview as well as for the real-time hands-on also for 2 or 3 days sessions of knowledge acquired by us.
So I'll share this training material only with you.
Okay.
So
Okay.
apart from this, like I will send you one assessment every week.
Okay.
So to assess, like to get an assessment of what understanding for everyone.
Okay.
So we'll have weekly assessments. Some from previous batch I started this. Previously I used to do monthly assessment. So however, I felt like it would be good if we have weekly assessment, right? Rather than after 1 month realizing like that they are missing some concepts or they are not able to follow, right? So I have started doing weekly assessment. Okay, and I'll be sharing this training material once you confirm your joining. I'll be sharing the same training material, as well as like I will be giving some class notes from, most probably from as and when required. I will start giving class notes. Okay. So if you see here, like we have different documents for different batches. Okay. So this is the class notes for February batch. This is for Jan batch. I'll be listing out some, which are not available, or some class notes, and I will be sharing this document with everyone.
Okay,
if you are
thank you.
taking,
Yeah.
if you are taking running notes from your side, well and good. Otherwise, this helps you to refer the concepts if you want to, whenever you want to refer to any content.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
All right then. So I'll pause recording.